Hi, this is Gilles, the radio prepper. Today I want to talk about one of the most important aspects of radio prepping or survival radio. Hang on, I'm negotiating a roundabout. So we're gonna be spinning. So batteries are probably one of the most important aspects of radio prepping or survival radio. It just takes much more time to recharge than people think it does. And we often forget that we might be without grid power. So which batteries do we choose and how do we recharge them is what I'm going to show you today. Related to batteries, of course, is receiver current draw. On transmitters use the same amount of current pretty much, but receivers can have a wide range of current draw. For instance, take the well-known FT817ND. It presumably burns about 350 milliamps, so that's quite a bit. It's an older design, it's a great radio, but it burns a lot of current. If you take, for instance, a KX2 from Elecraft, it burns about 150 milliamps. So you're going to your battery is going to last probably more than twice as long as with an FT817ND. Now if you take a Weber MTR4B, that burns about 15 milliamps. Now that's many hours, days of use without having to recharge the batteries. I have the MTR3B, and I've taken it on vacations and camping trips that lasted a week, and I never had to recharge the batteries. And I was using 8 AA cells, so it's very important to consider current draw when you buy a radio, especially now that we see radios that have 2 amps current draw on receive, which is insane. Whoops, another roundabout. They really lack roundabouts around here. I have to say it's kind of cool because you don't have to worry about red lights. Well, when you look at repeaters today, lots of repeaters do not have backup power, or they have backup power maybe for a day or two. And I think most emergency radio outlets or agencies, clubs, do not consider really an all-out SHTF situation. They think about hurricanes like we just saw in Texas, still going on, or things that are shorter in nature, like tsunami or things like that. And that's great. I mean, it's a great community service. But they often do not consider. Oh, here's the radio. That's the Lille repeater on UHF. Anyway, they often do not consider long-term wide range emergencies, and they might be using generators, gas powered, and those things will run out of gas. I think the only viable, well, probably the 2 viable source of power are solar power, but of course you could have the sky full of clouds or ashes. Whoops. Yeehaw. And whoa, okay, there we go. Oh, you must be seasick by now. The cloud must be the clouds, but the sky must be might be full of ashes or clouds, or who knows. So I think the second way of maybe recharging battery would be a muscle power, like with the Clansman family of radios, military radios that have a hand crank. That's a military radio, it's pretty heavy, but a hand crank, that can be pretty useful. Or maybe wind generated, but that's all It's a mechanical way of producing electricity, and I think it's important to maybe think about that. I just have a solar panel, and I'll show you which batteries I charge with it. Here you can have a look at my hometown. I was born here. It's pretty sad looking. Well, it's not too bad, but it's not that great. It's typically north of France, you know, little town. Streets are very narrow everywhere. When I first got to the US, I thought, oh my god, everything is gigantic. Even the cars are small here. Even the people are small. So yeah, I hope you're enjoying this. Maybe I'll go by the town center. You can have a quick look. Well, it's not all bad. Here's the church, and oh, it's market day. Oh, that's original. Here's the mairie. Well, I can't really show you with the phones attached on the wheel. Anyway, I'll show you some footage I took yesterday at the local airfield. So this was hot air balloons taking off from the grass field we have not far from here. About it's probably about 6-7 kilometers from here, and that's where I did a lot of flying with ultralights. Way back, I was towing advertising banners with an ultralight, believe it or not. And it's a pretty cool airfield, and you know, it's not all bad, but I just don't like the winters here. It's so cold, and it's raining a lot. So I'm not gonna stay here too long. My goal is to get another boat, a sailboat of course, and go to sea again and finish what I started in 2015, which didn't end too well. But I keep bringing that up again, but I should think about it pretty often. So, but anyway, enough of that. Back to radio. I didn't bring a radio today. Well, I can't say that. I always have my TYT MD390 with me, UHF and DMR radio. But it's about batteries. And I started with AA cells. Those are Eneloop, Sanyo Eneloop batteries, very good by the way. I use a holder with them, which you can buy on eBay for peanuts. And those, well, the capacity isn't that great, but of course if your radio doesn't burn much current like the Weber MTR, which I use with these batteries, then you're fine. I even used again my Weber MTR with 8 of these in a pack like this for more than a week, and I was operating maybe at least an hour and a half a day. In the Pyrenees last year I used these batteries too, and they lasted, I think they lasted about 3 weeks. But I wasn't using them very often, but still, it's pretty good. I have a charger to charge them. This one can charge 8 batteries at a time. It's 12 volt powered. It comes with the wall adapter. But I want to be able to charge these batteries with solar power. And I had a problem with that last year because, if you remember well, I bought AA chargers, USB powered, and they only charge the batteries to 1.25 volts. And that's almost empty. So these batteries are usually charged to, I think, about 1.37, 1.4 volts. So you need a charger that's able to do that. But otherwise, it's a very good choice. They're cheap. Well, the rechargeable ones are not that cheap, but they work pretty well. You can also use regular AA batteries with a holder like this, although you'd have to replace one of the batteries with a short, because otherwise it might be too much voltage for your battery, but that depends on your radio. My Weber MTR has a maximum of 12 volts. I've used it with 12.6, 12.4, but I wouldn't go any higher, so you have to be careful about the maximum voltage of your radio. After that, I switched to Lipo batteries, Lipo packs, 3-cell Lipo packs. So that's about 12.6 volts maximum. They're very small, very light. The problem I had is that out of those 3 cells, if one goes bad, you have to get rid of the whole pack, or you have to take it apart, and but it's not very good. So I lost a few packs. I was also not paying attention to the minimum voltage, and Lipo are very sensitive to that. If you go much below 3 volts per cell, you're going to destroy those batteries. So, and again, if you destroy one cell out of the pack, the whole pack is gone. And some of them are quite expensive. I forgot to bring one, but remember the one I used with my PRC 320. Here it is. And this one is a 7-cell Lipo battery, so almost 30 volts. It's about 29 volts or something like that. 7 times 4.2 maximum. It's a 5 amp hour batteries, and it's much smaller than the Clansman battery, which is this. So this battery is quite heavy, and when you pair it with the PRC, the RT320, boy, it's not something you want to carry for a long time. These are also NiCad batteries. They're pretty difficult to charge because you have to force current in them by increasing voltage, and you can't overcharge them. If you overcharge them, you can damage them as well. So it's a trade-off. Some batteries are lighter, but you have to be very careful with charging and recharging, like Lipos, which, by the way, can also burst into flames. So NiCad is pretty safe, but it's also a pain to charge. I use this charger for my NiCad batteries, Clansman military batteries, and for lead acid batteries too. This is an older design. It's a Pro Peak Supernova. It's quite good. It works well. It doesn't charge Lipos because I think there wasn't any back then. But it's good for NiCad and lead acid. And it's also 12 volts input. And that's important when you buy a charger. Make sure that you can power it up with 12 volts. So that you can use maybe bigger car batteries, or maybe a solar panel with a voltage regulator, and you can use that with your charger to charge your different kinds of batteries. This one, don't buy it. Turnigy AccuCell 8150. It's for up to 8-cell Lipos, which I needed because I'm using a 7-cell Lipo for my RT320. But this has never worked well. First of all, quality control is dismal because the 8-cell connector is upside down, so I had to actually cut the little plastic knob thingy on my battery so that I could reverse it and plug it in the right way. This works with Lipos, it works well. It doesn't work with NiCads, it doesn't work with lead acid. I always get an error message with it. Now there are some fake ones around, so I'm wondering if maybe this one isn't a fake one. But I'm not going to buy another one because if there are fake ones around, you never know what you're gonna get. Well, if it's Turnigy, if it's a fake one, I apologize, but I'd like to know. I don't know. If you guys have any ways to differentiate them, let me know, because there's nothing I can do. This is probably gonna go to trash or just recharge Lipos, and that's it. SLA, sealed lead acid or gel cell battery. Might be a difference there, but they're very similar anyway, if not the same. This is a 7 amp hour battery, which is pretty nice, lots of capacity, more capacity than the Clansman battery actually. Clansman battery is 5 amp hour. This is 7. Of course, the Clansman is older technology, but it's still pretty heavy. I mean, really, it's heavy. I only use this when I don't mind the weight. I use it with my KX2 Weber. I haven't used it with the Weber yet, but I use it with my IC251, and it gives me a pretty good capacity, and I know I can operate this, radio with this for a long time. But it's heavy. I have Anderson poles and a regular 2.1mm DC connector. Now let's talk about my latest battery choice, and I think this might be the one. It's the 18650 cell, 3.7 volts nominal, 4.2 volts maximum, and you can drain it down to about 3 volts. I use them in a pack of 3, which gives me a 12.6 volt. This you can find on eBay also for ridiculous prices. Nothing really. You connect, you put your connector there. The wire is very thin. That's the only problem. You can't use this with a high current draw radio. It's gonna melt the wire when you transmit. But they work really well. You can find them for free in old laptop computers, and that's why I got these two. I haven't bought, well, I bought 3 of them, but 4. I bought a pack of 4, but these I got free. So you don't have to go very far. Look at old laptops. Sometimes you can find them in garage sales, and just say you want to buy the battery for $2, and there you go. And those are very, very good. They have capacities to usually about 2400 to 3000 milliamps, so they can last quite a bit of time, even with a KX2, for instance. For an FT817ND, I would use 6 of them, but it's fine. Some people use 4 batteries because they have a little bit of a higher voltage and they can last a little bit longer that way. By the way, check out Julian's site, Survival Tech Nord channel. He has a very good videos on building a battery pack with a balanced charger in it. So very interesting. You can buy those on eBay too, already made now. So this way you can have you can use a USB charger, like a solar panel, like the one I have. I have a Geotech 14 watt, which works fine. It's not a great quality, but it's not too bad. I really should have 2 of them, really. Maybe a 40 or 50 watt panel, which I would use with a Jenison charger, which is probably one of the best MPPT chargers you can find. MPPT is a scheme for charging batteries with a solar charger, and it's better than I think PWT they call it. So really now it's what I'm using, and I think I'm going to be using this for a while because it's really working well for me. I charge them with this. This is a Nightcore UM10. It can charge 1 battery at a time. It's not much, but my solar panel has 2 connectors, 2 USB connectors, so I have 2 of these, and I can charge 2 batteries at a time. They have different chargers. X-Star makes them too. Nightcore. They have 3 and 4 battery chargers, which would take a whole lot more time to charge batteries, but this UM10 works pretty well. I think USB charging is really something that is becoming very common. You can buy battery packs, solar panels, all for USB charging, and that's what I'm going towards. I like the AA cells, but they can be useful for a lot of things, so I'm going to keep those because they're very useful. I use them with my Weber MTR. No complaints with the AA cells. But The 18650s have a little more capacity, and that's what I'm counting on, and they are pretty much as easy to charge. You have to be careful at how low you discharge them, minimum 3 volts. I try to stay at 3.2 just to be safe, and have a good smart charger to charge them to the maximum of 4.2 volts. Now this guy, sorry it's a long video, but you know, I have to show you everything here, and it's might be a little technical, a little boring, but bear with me. Last item on the list. How do you charge these guys? Of course they have their own charger, and you plug the charger into a wall wart. But this you have to make sure that you can actually use, for instance, this battery pack here on. Make sure that you check the voltage though, because for instance Bofeng, you know, the radios like the UV5R and all those models, the input voltage is 10 volts DC. So don't go above 10 volts or you might fry the charger. Either you can use maybe almost dead, you know, 10.5. You don't really want to go below 10.5 with SLA battery. Maybe you can use a car battery that's practically dead and still has 10 volts in it, and maybe charge your handheld like this, or use a voltage step down reducer that you can buy on eBay as well. So this was a lot of information, sorry about that, but it's really an important subject again, because when we don't have grid power, the only way to power our radios is using batteries. And I think again that a lot of people do not consider emergencies for more than a few days, and that's a big issue in radio, amateur radio in general, I believe. People also think that you know, you're going to carry a car battery with you with your radio, and you're going to go into the woods and operate your radio. Well, guess what? It's not going to happen, because a mile down the road you're going to throw the battery out, and that's it. It's carrying something like, even something like this on a track is unthinkable. Okay, you don't realize how much weight matters until you're up there in the mountains. You know, you're climbing, and you've walked for 7-8 hours, and you still have 2 hours to go, and you're carrying this. You're not going to want it. Of course, it's an extreme case, but you know, who knows? I was in the Pyrenees, I carried this. I didn't want to carry anything heavier than that. Anything that was, I even threw away rice, a bag of rice, because it was too heavy. Okay, so and that's after a few days of hiking when you're tired, and you can't stand any weight on top of what you already have. So think about that. Don't carry heavy batteries, and if you don't want to carry heavy batteries, don't carry a big radio with a big current draw. It's not going to work out for you. You're going to operate your radio for 30 minutes, your battery is going to be dead. Then what? You know, how you charge it? You know, it's cloudy. I used to live in Florida. In Florida, I had no concern about my solar panel not working. You know, and you know, even if there was a volcanic eruption in Yellowstone, I think you know, it would have been okay down there. I mean, I hope so, maybe not, but here in the north of France, it's not sunny like today every day. This is an exception. So it's raining most of the time. It's gray, it's dark, it's like England, you know. Well, you know, I'm sure England has good days too, but we're not very far from England. But you don't want to carry a battery that you cannot charge. And that's the point I'm making today. It's the most important point I want you to remember, and I want you to consider, is you need a radio that has a low current draw. You need small batteries that are going to last you a while. And that's it for today. Have a good one.